This episode of Lawyers Tell All is brought to you by Law Firm Conversions. If your law firm's phone is ringing, that only means your marketing is successful. It's what happens when the phone is answered that will drive your success or failure. Visit www.intakeacademy.com and claim your free copy of Chris Mullen's groundbreaking book for lawyers and law firms that gets every call converting to become a profitable client, showing you the steps you need to take to ensure the right person is answering the phone and answering it correctly. Welcome to the Lawyers Tell All podcast, where Chris Mullins, the preeminent sales and communications consultant in the legal industry, shows you how it looks through lawyers' eyes. Here, innovators in the trenches provide powerful insights that help you connect with new clients, handle the sometimes harsh realities of the legal profession, and embrace the mindsets needed to succeed. Be sure to visit our website at www.lawyerstellall.com. And while you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now, lean in, tune in, and let's take a deep dive.
Hello, everyone. It's Chris Mullins with Lawyers Tell All, and today I am interviewing Paul Edelstein, and I am going to let Paul tell you about himself. Go ahead, Paul.
Hi, thank you, Chris. I love your name, by the way. You know, Chris, without your S, you would be Chris Mullen, one of the best basketball players of all time, who hails from my hometown of Brooklyn and played at St. John's. So it's really cool to meet another Chris Mullen, even if you're Chris Mullins. But
well, the big difference really is he's a lefty and I'm a righty. So.
I love that. Okay, good for you. That tells me a lot about who's doing the interview and makes me like you even more. I am not as famous as either of you two, Chris Mullins, apparently. I'm just a trial lawyer from Brooklyn. My name's Paul Edelstein, but I am the son of a very prominent attorney before me, who was the son of another prominent attorney before him. So I'm a third generation Brooklyn attorney. And I think that does make me kind of special in a way. And I've been practicing trial law, but mostly personal injury, civil cases, and some medical malpractice and product liability cases for about 30 years. This is my 30th year as a lawyer, even though I know I don't look a day over.
I'm surprised. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about your dad.
Oh, my dad. My father was a practicing matrimonial attorney for more than 40 years. Some of his idols were James Dean, who's sitting right over your right shoulder. He grew up in Brooklyn. That's who he thought he was. And Lenny Bruce, I would say, if I had to say two people, who was a very famous comedian a lot of people don't know about, but a really provocative, kind of groundbreaking comedian in terms of his satiric comedy and political commentary and things like that. And my father was the son of his father, my namesake, Paul Edelstein, who was also a very well-respected and well-regarded attorney. And so I grew up in this business and grew up being taught how important it is that what we do, that my father viewed what we do as a profession, a noble profession, much like the clergy or the medical profession, a profession where you're helping people and where your ethics and morality and ability to communicate effectively to people, to explain complex concepts is really what the heart of what we do, and to maybe effectuate change on behalf of either individuals or bigger issues, which a lot of lawyers never get a chance to do. My father, I think, fortunately did have that chance through his career to make sort of bigger impacts. The law can do that for you. And I've been lucky enough to have that happen to me a little bit, maybe even most particularly with this recent case with Harley Davidson, which is ongoing. In other words, to effectuate some change on a bigger scale than just for your individual client, which is really, really cool. So, you go around as a lawyer thinking that starting out hoping that you could do these things. And when you're actually able to do them at times and have these kind of accomplishments where you either help an individual and nobody knows about it but you and the individual, or you do something that gets to a bigger audience, like maybe your audience. It's an amazing, powerful concept, particularly, as an attorney. You're always one person with a giant team behind you. But the beautiful thing is that you feel like, hey, one little guy can effectuate big impacts. It's almost like a pebble being thrown into the water and concentric circles maybe emanating out from that. So you're this little trial attorney in the middle here, and you drop the water, but the waves you can make can be far-reaching, and I think that's a really cool concept.
Yeah. So talk about Harley Davidson. Go ahead.
Harley Davidson. Well, yeah, let's talk about Harley Davidson. I mean, before I ran into this case with Harley Davidson, my closest interaction with Harley Davidson was hearing them, on the streets, and seeing them and seeing everybody wear their material, their marketing material. I have very different views of Harley Davidson now that I know what I know. And unfortunately, Harley Davidson has shown themselves to be, just like any other giant corporation in this country, which is their motivation is profits, and while they take consideration to safety, I'm not going to say they ignore safety. It and like everything else is secondary to profits. And when that happens, it causes problems. And here, Harley Davidson produced a product that really wasn't safe from inception. And we know this now, but in production, this particular trike, it's a three-wheel trike right off the bat is not a good idea with a wheel in the front. Any of us that have children and seen our kids just tip over on a trike tell you that. But to make it worse, they instituted computer software programs on this trike, namely a traction control software program that had never been on these things before. So now you're taking a vehicle that obviously doesn't have seatbelts, doesn't have a roof, doesn't have a roll bar, a vehicle that, everybody knows any motorcycle, comes with some inherent danger, and you're making it less safe by putting on a computerized device on it. And for the first time, so, one could almost argue it's experimental. Right. And you're unfortunately marketing it to older riders. And the reason you're doing that is to keep their aging rider base on their stuff, so you want to keep, they're losing some market share as Harley Davidson riders get older. So one way to keep that is to market things to these people, keep them going. And you market it. So obviously when you're an older rider, you're thinking more about safety. As we age, like I used to love to go on the scariest rides at the amusement park, right? But I don't really like doing that anymore, right? Like, well, what happened? I'm in pretty good shape. I have no injuries or anything like that. But my mindset changes, and safety becomes a little more paramount. Well, same thing happens with these riders. So Harley, is a very skilled marketer, like a lot of big companies. And so they're marketing to these people for these safety aspects. But this thing was not safe. And then I think, most offensively here in this particular case, my client had 2 accidents on this particular trike. And after the first one, his wife and him got hurt, but not terribly, bad enough to maybe bring a lawsuit, but they didn't even attempt to bring one. They just, when they found out there was a recall for this particular safety device on this bike, they went to Harley Davidson and said, hey, there was a recall on this for brakes engaging in this traction control system. And that's what happened to us when we had our accident. We think you should pay the medical bills, and we want to make sure this bike is safe. And they went right back to Harley. And Harley denied that claim and said it has nothing to do with the recall and wouldn't pay their medical bills, which, okay, if you don't want to do that. But the real sad thing here was it convinced my clients that this bike was safe.
Yeah.
Went to, they felt like they had this assurance, hey, this thing's safe, because they went directly to Harley Davidson and made this complaint and got back on it. And it wasn't safe. And the next time that this defect reared its head, my client's wife was killed, and he was really catastrophically hurt. So that's, really in a nutshell the case, and which is horrible as it is. But to make matters worse, and I think if your audience are lawyers or law students, here's a big problem to think about, which is that sometimes big corporations use the legal system and they understand how to manipulate it. Even if it's in a fair way, right? You're allowed to do certain things. Okay, play within the rules. But when you're the deep-pocketed, moneyed party, you can do things a lot differently than the little guy. And we're really the little guy, but I'm a little guy from Brooklyn, so I'm a little different of a little guy. But you're able to really grind people down, grind plaintiffs and claimants down, and keep things the way you want. And so your profits continue to soar, and you can absorb these losses and these claims and things like that until somebody calls you out on it. And that's what happened in this case. Okay, they were called out on this, and these facts were brought into an open courtroom in a very rural, small county called Livingston County, and where Harley Davidson felt like they would just roll in, and this is Harley country, and these are, this is rural jurors, so they felt these kind of jurors would not be open to the concepts that we were going to present to them, and they were very, very wrong about that, as evidenced by this verdict, which is probably one of the biggest product liability verdicts involving a vehicle and individuals that in United States history. But even since then, so we're sitting here now, you and I, in mid-October 2024, in case my mom watches this 3 years from now. She'll know when we were talking. And this verdict was in middle of August, so 3 or 4 months ago. Now, one would think that in light of this verdict and the publicity that it received, that you and I would be having a conversation about a case that's now resolved, right? Okay, well, the jury spoke, and now we're here with a settlement, but we're not. But I'm not. I'm not here with a settlement. They are now engaging in the appellate process, and more lawyers are coming in, more paper is being exchanged, more time is going by, and more justice is being delayed. And the reason that they're doing that is because they know how the system works. And so, people are sitting in a boardroom at Harley Davidson, much like they're in a boardroom of any giant corporation, and they're sitting around and saying, all right, well, what's our litigation exposure, in general, or even on an individual case, like my case, maybe, and they have this figured out, well, what's the worst that can happen? This, that, or the other thing. Don't pay these people, grind this little plaintiff lawyer down. And what's the worst thing that can happen if we lose, it doesn't change things. And that's all finance-based. That's all numerical. That's all business. In fact, we call it the litigation industrial complex, which is a phrase that, I think I invented. And it's in line with this concept that people, I think, are familiar with, the military industrial complex, which people have heard that term, right? How does this happen? How does this work? Well, in litigation, it exists too, so you have, and it can only exist with a big corporation, with big businesses. So they're able to leverage the system by virtue of their, deep pocket, and their treasure chest of assets that they can use to leverage the system to keep these things from, getting out of control for them. When, the opposite should really be true, right? You should really be, leveraging your money and your finances to ensure that things are completely safe, and that this never happens. And that if it does happen, that you deal with claimants fairly. And none of that's happened in this case.
Mm-hmm. But what about you? What about you, Paul? How has this case affected you?
It's made me very tired.
Tell me a little bit more, though.
How's it affected me? I mean, actually, it's the opposite of tired. I think I was just joking when I said that. It's enlivened me. It's energized me. I'm going up to Livingston County tomorrow, in fact, to meet in person with the judge and with the lawyers on the case. It's made me, it's affirmed my beliefs that one trial lawyer can make a difference, particularly when he has a team behind him, because, no trial lawyer is an island unto himself. We are all supported by a giant network of people that do different things. So like in this case, I have a partner named Arthur Blacker, and he's just, like a computer with the law, and that's his role. I have a co-counsel named, Dan Thomas, whose father was a prominent judge. He is a master strategist, a master communicator, a master evaluator, and a very brilliant trial lawyer in his own right. I have a partner who in this case sat back in the office while we tried most of the case, feeding me information, Glenn Fagenberg, an Ivy League educated guy that comes from a different perspective than I do. I have an investigator named Matthew Zepnick, who's the son of a prominent defense lawyer, who was a defense lawyer in our business for 40 years, who is, just a genius-like in his ability to identify issues and spot evidence. And then I have a staff of paralegals and clerks who put together reams and reams of papers without which I couldn't possibly perform the way I'm capable of performing. So I am one piece of the puzzle. And, maybe I get more credit because, or more blame when that happens too, because I'm out in front. But it's all of the stuff that's going on behind me that puts us in these incredible positions and to perform. Yeah, so it's really kind of cool, and to reflect back on that. And I think when I was asked about your podcast, they were asking me about that, about how it happens and what's the teamwork and and these kind of things. And I said, wow, that's just nothing could be more accurate than for somebody to ask me how this kind of thing happens, how you achieve a verdict like this or a success like this, particularly when you're going against a behemoth of a litigation, the litigation industrial complex. I mean, that's who it is. So it's a Herculean task, and it is effectuated by virtue of all the preparation that goes in there. That's done by a number of people.
Right. I mean, the list of people that you just said is, I'm sure there's a lot more. You've got a strong, really good team that are really loyal and believe in you and the firm and fighting for your clients. Yeah.
We everybody believes it. Everybody knows it. Everybody is like-minded. Yeah. And I think that I'm not alone. The trial lawyers that I know that do what I do or similar or like me, they, and we're portrayed, so poorly, I think, by the media. And quite frankly, it's inaccurate with the real trial lawyers, and it is accurate with the billboard trial lawyer. Yeah. That's true. So, the billboard guys and the television commercial guys are not real guys. They're not. They're marketers. That's all they are. And, they end up giving cases to guys like me and friends and colleagues of mine when they can't get them resolved on their own. But, I choose to, really focus on and like to get the message out that there are way more of me out there than there are the guys that have billboards. In other words, way more people like me that believe strongly in what they're doing, that they're doing something important for their individual clients, that they're doing something important for the industry as a whole, and that they're doing something important for society overall by bringing these cases and stuff like that. So I'm a passionate believer.
So speaking of that, I can feel your passion and your excitement and your emotions right through the camera. And I would imagine if your entire team was standing behind you, I would feel it from them too. So my question for you is, how do you teach young lawyers that are just getting out of school, they've graduated, or even just lawyers that have been doing it for a while, but they're not as focused as they want to be? How do you teach these groups to be passionate, to feel what you're feeling? How does that happen? What's missing that they need to do differently?
Well, it's a great question. I mean, I think probably the primary way is much like a parent. to a child? How do we teach our children? What is the best way to teach our children? And clearly the best way how to teach our children is modeling, is to model the behavior that we want our children to effectuate, whatever that is, right? Be courteous, study hard, whatever, whatever the qualities you want your kids to have, as a parent, you're normally modeling it and showing it. And that goes the same for being a lawyer, right? It model what you're trying to do and what you're trying to be, and they'll absorb it, and then I think more specifically when people have asked me stuff, when we're on cases and how do you do this? What do you do? I thought for me, it's look, there are no rules that you need to necessarily follow. For the most part, the law makes sense. And so if you think it's appropriate and right, it probably is, right? So pursue that argument, pursue that line. And then, it's preparation and preparation. Somebody asked me, well, how much time did you prepare for a particular, cross-examination, an opening, a summation? And I said, I prepared however much time I had. There is no limit to how much preparation you can put in. There's no I have never ever gotten to a point and said to myself, wow, okay, well, I'm done. There's nothing else I can do. There's always something more to prepare yourself for whatever you're going to go into. And then I think a lot of lawyers lose focus on what they're doing because they get caught up in thinking about what they're supposed to do, like what's a lawyer supposed to do, and there really is no supposed to in lawyering or anything, really, quite frankly. So there is just what you believe you should be advocating for and how, and your preparation and things like that. So you go about it that way, and if you do differently, then it's going to come out differently, and it's not going to come out with honesty, with passion. And then, I think those are the things I try to preach to the people that are around me.
Mm-hmm. So how do you maintain I'm presuming you have a healthy work-life balance, right? So I'm assuming you do. I mean, you've got big smiles, you've got a lot of confidence, you've got an incredible smile. You're at should I say it? You're at your mom's house.
I am at my mom's house, yes.
Mom's house. I mean, so come on.
Yeah. I suppose, being the son of a lawyer and the grandson of a lawyer started that, but marrying a juror, certainly. That's so that happened. So my wife is my biggest supporter, and she understands, what it takes. Lawyers do not work 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. My father never did. And I saw that growing up. Again, maybe that's that modeling, right? Like I watched that, and I watched how my mom adapted to my dad. And he was, I thought he was there, all the time. I didn't think he was all of that, was a workaholic and was not there, but it was, that the job doesn't leave you. You don't leave that at 5 o'clock as a lawyer. It just doesn't work that way. And so my family now, so my work-life balance is fantastic because, my wife and my kids are well aware of that. I can remember when my kids were young, once we got frustrated with them. They, when they would say, oh, they wanted this, they want that. And my wife and I said, it's so fun. All we hear from you is what you want, what you want. How about what we want? We want something. What do you? And we turned it around on them and said, well, what do you think we want? And my kids were very young. And one of them said, well, Dad, you want a case. I know you want a case. And I don't really think he knew what a case really was, but he knew something that I talked about a lot and passionately. So he knew, that to him as a young child, I guess that was something he perceived that I would want.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, but it wasn't always a perfect or great healthy work-life balance, right? So in the early days, what was it like, and what happened to get you to turn the corner?
Well, I mean, I think early on when you're younger, you have more energy, and so you can be out socially, work life, and work, like crazy as well. And you don't have a family, right? So you're single and you're able to do this. I think, when you turn the corner and you have a wife and a family, it maybe causes you to reflect more on your clients also. Like everybody else that graduates in life to adulthood and more responsibility, then you add the responsibility of a family to that, and it makes you maybe even more empathetic to the people you're representing, and they're, who are in my case hurt or out of work or saddled with things and financial difficulties and stuff like that, and you're able to turn the corner to say, wow, now I get it a little bit more than I did before, and because of that, I need to change how I'm going about doing this. It's just a maturity, I think, really.
Yeah, it's a maturity, but I mean, a lot of lawyers, they struggle with mental health and alcohol and the whole thing there. So
yeah,
I think it used to be dentists that were number one for suicide, but I'm pretty sure now it's lawyers, right? So yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, that does hit home for me, for lawyers I know, who, particularly the ones that take it so to heart, which I do, then it does become hard, a grind on you mentally as you move forward, because you care so much and you don't leave it, and that is a tough balance, I think, there. And I've been fortunate because everyone around me knows what I do and seems to like to hear about what we do. And there's your release, So, we for many, many years would have a sort of a standing Wednesday night table, as we turn the corner into maturity. It started because that's when we could get babysitting. Where the Wednesday night was a night we had somebody, with our kids and my wife's twin sister's kids primarily. So we said, well, let's go out for dinner on Wednesday nights, all the time in the city, after work. And we started doing that. And those dinners, would predominantly involve other lawyers, right? And sometimes doctors who we were friends with, or other, professionals, and invariably the conversation would involve, cases, what we would, and people, for the most part, we're interested in it and in hearing about it. And that's also work. We're also, we're vetting out cases and arguments and things and getting feedback and learning. And when you're doing that. And so, so for us, I think that was a great release also mentally, that you're able to decompress in this way, and hear what other people think about it, and, which affects you. And I think both in a positive way, it affects you in sort of one direction, maybe helping on the case, like, oh, I didn't think of that, or it's interesting that an opinion, and it affects you in the other way, in that you're sort of getting out your frustrations at times, the things that grind down on a lawyer mentally.
Right.
We're able to get them out.
And it's okay to do it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course.
Awesome. That's wonderful. I love that. That's awesome. Well, any last words for everybody?
No, my last words for everybody is to, be passionate about what you do. If you're a lawyer and this is what you want to do, it is a noble profession, and it is a satisfying profession. And if those are the reasons you're going into it, stick with those and follow those, and you'll be doing a podcast like me with Chris Mullins.
That's right. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Pleasure was mine. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. All right, everyone. It's Chris Mullins, Lawyers Tell All. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning in to Lawyers Tell All, where Chris Mullins takes you on a journey with lawyers in the trenches who show you the realities of what it takes to succeed in this chaotic, crowded, ever-changing profession. Remember to visit our website at www.lawyerstellall.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on Lawyers Tell All.